As a French-American person, I do know Paris fairly well, and I figured I could share my thrift shop guide for Paris with you guys today. You guys know I love shopping secondhand. I want to share with you my favorite spots, their pros and cons, in case you ever come to Paris and want to check these stores out, especially with the current fuel prices. If you're lucky enough to travel to Paris, here is my guide for you. In any big city, you're going to have different options and different stores, and Paris is no exception. There are some specific neighborhoods that will have more vintage shops than others, especially the Montmartre neighborhood, which is the northern part of the city with the beautiful Sacré-Cœur Basilica. That neighborhood is so charming, very well known, and it does have a lot of vintage and thrift shop options. If you're interested, you can follow below my Google Maps list of my selected thrift store for you for your next Parisian adventure. In Montmartre, it will be more curated. You will have maybe a more thoughtful selection of pieces, but that also means higher prices in the end, so it's a balance. Side note here, but in Montmartre, if you're a seamstress, you will find all of the fabric stores gathered in pretty much one street. So I will also add that to my Google Maps list. That area is called Marché Saint-Pierre, and it is such a pleasant shopping experience if you're into fabric shopping and making your own clothes. The other neighborhood I'm thinking of would be near the very center of the city, near Châtelet, where you will also have a really good amount of thrift stores. Now, because it is in the very center, these will tend to be a bit more expensive than other places, and you also want to be careful because a lot of tourists will be going there, and for that reason they might take advantage. I wouldn't actually recommend some stores there because they would pretend they've got, well-known brands, and a lot of pieces would be actually counterfeit pieces in these stores. So I would stay away from the too flashy, here we sell incredible brands kind of stores and go for other options. Generally speaking, you can approach the city with sort of two different sides. The east side will be more liberal, more leaning towards more circular economy and that kind of thing, and the west side of the city will be more conservative, and you might have a little less options when it comes to secondhand shopping there. The thrift stores in Paris are called friperies, so that's the word for you. Like in many different places, you will have different categories for thrift shopping. You will have charities, you will have private chains or independent stores to choose from. One of the biggest, most well-known charities across the country in France is called Emmaüs. I would say think of it as if it was Goodwill. There is also the French Salvation Army, which is the Armée du Salut, but I couldn't really find any in Paris, whereas I could definitely find some Emmaüs locations in the city. The other big categories that I forgot was the flea markets. In the north side of the city, there is the most famous one, and that is the Saint-Ouen flea market. Saint-Ouen being the name of that town adjacent to Paris. Saint-Ouen, the flea market, is going to be a little more overwhelming for clothing because it has everything you can imagine, from home decor to DIY power tools and furniture for hotels or buildings, like stairs or huge counters for bars or restaurants. It's kind of crazy. You really want to get lost there and spend maybe an entire day if you're into flea markets. But so the clothing section is maybe a little less pleasant, I would say, than another thrift store in Paris. And you also have events every now and again, especially in the nice season, and these can be listed on the Paris website, and I will also link that below. Now, when in Paris, I'm typically favoring the northeast area because I've got a lot of friends living there. So the stores I prefer going to are, I would say, mid-range. They don't look that nice from the outside, but you can still have good finds in these stores for a very reasonable price. So that's what I would favor. Like, how much do you want to dig through the clothes at the thrift store? Basically, as a rule of thumb, I would say the better aesthetically pleasing the store looks, the higher the prices could be. And that makes sense. It's more curated, it's an overall more pleasant, better experience as a customer that will really try to find the high-end nice pieces for you, and not necessarily claim for brands, but the items would be good quality and good brands. I would recommend RJ Habillement if you want something cheap. The quality of the items is not necessarily the best, and that's the beauty of secondhand shopping. You never know what you're gonna find. You might find 15 incredible pieces in just one afternoon and not find anything for days. So that is totally fine and something you want to embrace when you're secondhand shopping. I definitely found some really good pieces, just some basic for my everyday wardrobe, loungewear, for a very affordable price. So that's always nice. Another store that I was pleasantly surprised with is called Le Relais. And I also one time there snagged some really good pieces, especially winter coats, for a very nice cheap price. And I remember the cashier telling me, "Wow, you got all of the great pieces today." And she was right. I mean, the selection I had, I was really lucky that day. I got some super soft fabrics, super soft clothes, and really great options. Inside of the Marché 104, there is actually an Emmaüs store, and that one is really nice because not only it is curated, but also the prices are very low compared to other curated thrift shops. So that's a win for you. I actually recently went to that one on another trip and found really nice pieces for the summer, dresses that I'm excited to add to my wardrobe. In Montmartre, there is one small independent shop that I went to where I found a nice pair of pants. It is a very small shop. I'll put the name here on the screen for you. That shop was nice, but very small. So there you go, another option, an independent store for a quick shopping session. I remember the owner being a nice person. Now remember that the customer experience in France is very different from the customer experience in the States, and unfortunately not necessarily always the most pleasant, because just culturally French people will behave with a more almost rude approach, which is it's just a cultural difference. So don't take it personally. Don't expect a huge smiling salesperson, because that's not always the case, unfortunately. Now, in the city center, there is a large thrift shop that I would definitely recommend though, because it is really well organized inside. by categories. It gets into really specific categories. In fact, I will put the name of the store here for you. It's on 2 levels. So it's a very large selection of pieces, and because it's so well organized, if you're looking for something specific, you might very well find it there. I actually bought a nice 100% wool top there, but I ruined it recently. I'm so sad because I did not realize I put it in my laundry basket and it shrunk like crazy because it was 100% wool. So unfortunately, I could only get 1 or 2 wears out of it, which is really sad, but the store was a nice, pleasant shopping experience. My preference really remains a store that is not too curated. I'm definitely staying away from stores that are claiming to sell well-known brands because I'm not into branded items anyways. But if it's too messy or too big of a store, then I'll feel overwhelmed. So I like this sweet balance of the store doesn't look like much, it's big but not too big. Let's see what I can find. Dig through for an hour perhaps and hopefully come home with great secondhand pieces. You can check on Google Maps or just Maps for the words vintage or friperie or simply thrift stores, and it will give you many different options. I'm happy to give you free access to my Google Maps list of thrift stores that I selected for you when in Paris, and I hope you're gonna have a wonderful time checking out these stores. If you do visit the city, let me know in the comments below if you've ever been to Paris and already checked out these stores, or if you're excited to just go and have a look for yourself. If you want some tips about how to refine the pieces you just got at the thrift store, I actually posted a bunch of videos on mending and fixing clothing. Feel free to check my other videos to get some inspiration. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna get back to some sewing projects, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys!